Today, Lynne Jensen-Nelson is going to help us create our competitive advantage.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. A quick show of hands. How many of you work for organizations that are looking to grow in the new year? Grow your margin, grow your market share, grow your team, grow your donations to your nonprofit. Anybody helping? All of a sudden I got a quick hand raised right up front. Okay, how many of you work for an organization that's looking to recruit and retain the top talent in your industry? By a show of hands. Is that important to you? Is there anybody that works with an organization that's just going to try to hold on to what they've got in the new year? Let's be honest, a few of you, you're among friends, okay? So here's what we know. If you want to continue to drive donations, grow your team, recruit top talent, take on more market share, you have to really be cognizant of your competitive advantage. Now, when I talk about competitive advantage, what I'm talking about is not how do you beat down everybody else. I'm talking about how do you make sure you grow yourself and your business and your team to be as successful as possible, because your customers and your teams depend on it. And I love this concept. The only sustainable competitive advantage is your ability to learn faster than your competition. Now, speaking of learning faster, there was a great study that just came out by Forbes, and they interviewed thousands of consumers and employees in successful businesses. And what they found is that the same drivers for why consumers choose you, whether it's to donate to your cause, buy your product or service, is the same reason people want to work for you. And I found that fascinating. And in this study, they found there are three things for both sides. If you want people to participate more, to buy from you, to want to work for you, you need to really analyze your business going into the new year and make sure that you're covered in these three areas. Number one, can you articulate what makes you unique? What sets you apart from the other options that today's consumers have? And can you describe that in a very short, in today's age, everyone can only listen to about 2 sentences. Does everybody on your team answer that question the same way? What makes you unique? Today's employees want to work for a company that's different than everybody else. How do you sell that advantage? Number two, you got to be current. Today's consumers are considered to be more sophisticated, more well-researched than ever before, and they are constantly looking and evaluating your business. Every contact with you is a plus or a minus. Every interaction either moves you forward or backwards in the process. Currency means, is it convenient? Is it easy? Do you have the best software? Do you allow the most flexibility? Are you able to communicate with those potential customers and keep the customers you already have and then bring in that new talent? And finally, and most important and most often overlooked, do you make your customers, both internal and external, feel valued? How do you communicate to your team members and your customers, you are important to us? This looks like a great project. We would love to partner with you on it. We would absolutely like to help prepare you for that new year. Or we know you have a lot of options. This is the best place to be. And here is the impact you will need on our organization and the market in general. So constantly be thinking. And in fact, economists say heading into the new decade, the customer experience will be the biggest driver to your success, far more than price or quality, which is a little bit scary. Okay? We want to make sure we stay in front of that. Now, as you're looking at the new year, the thing to keep in mind, have you all seen this, I'm a certain age, and all of a sudden all the AARP commercials pop up on everything? Anybody else have that issue? Like every day there's like a new, I know some of you are way too young, you won't even imagine this, but when you turn a certain age, all of a sudden AARP like targets you for everything. And there's that commercial where the guy does like one push-up and they're healthy. They eat the one piece of broccoli and they're like, oh, I'm good. Well, in our business, it's the same thing. Every single day, you are either getting better or getting worse. Nothing stays the same. Now, a quick question for the audience. Who has been in their current role current industry for longer than 25 years? Anybody? Anybody willing to admit it? Are you afraid if you raise your hand, I'll make you come up here and do something crazy? Everybody except one arm dropped. The fact of the matter is, if you've been in the industry a long time, you know that the way to continuously be successful is to always be looking to grow and improve, okay? Every single day. Even today, you chose to invest time and, way more important, your time way more important, and the money as well, in this event. What you get out of it, the ROI, is completely in your control. Every day you're getting better or getting worse. Now, do you guys recognize these two brands? So I have to ask another question. The one on the left was a big part of my life growing up in rural Minnesota. Anybody else grow up in a rural farm town? So when you grew up in a rural farm town in the 80s, a hot date night was two things: Pizza Hut and Blockbuster, right? I know, we were crazy back then, okay? Now, what would happen, for those of you who are way too young to know what happens at Blockbuster, is that you would go to Blockbuster, right? You would walk around the store for what seemed like hours, flip over and look. You get super excited about a movie, and then you pick up the box, and what would happen? It'd be empty, right? Somebody else had it. We actually had to wait our turn back in the 80s if we wanted to watch a movie, right? And if you're a kid in the 80s and it's a hot date, you went to Pizza Hut, and then you go to Blockbuster. What's the best date movie of the 80s that you get at Blockbuster? Oh, Dirty Dancing. It tells me a lot about you people, yeah. I am a pure Minnesota farm girl. I waited until my parents were out of town before we rent that movie. So the big movie for the 80s when I was a kid was all about Top Gun. I am not afraid to tell you, Top Gun still does it for me, okay? Now, what happened to Blockbuster? How many Blockbusters are left? One. Okay, some people know it's one. Where is it? Alaska. Nope. Almost everybody thinks it's Alaska. Blockbuster couldn't even survive in Alaska. Those poor people have nothing to do, and they still don't go to Blockbuster. Where is it? Oregon. Bend, Oregon. Very good. Huge bonus at the end of the day, like a car and cash. Nope. Holly just said, nope, that's not really a thing. I made that up. So they disappeared. How about Netflix? Do we recognize Netflix? Yeah. Anybody actually part of the original Netflix experience, where you get the brochure? It was like ordering books. You'd look at the brochure, you'd check off the movie, you'd send off the red envelope, and then you'd have to wait. What? And they would send you the movie? Yeah. So what happened to these two over time? Blockbuster's down to one. What about Netflix? It is an insane part of our lives, isn't it? They changed over time. They stopped mailing the DVDs, and they started streaming. The key is, did you know Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix? They had the chance to buy them. So Netflix was an upstart doing very well in their send the video to your home option. But then they had the option, $50 million. Blockbuster could have bought Netflix, but they didn't. Why? Because they were a big darn deal. 10,000 stores? What do we need with this? That's not how we do our business. People come to us. They spend Friday nights in our stores. And over time, Blockbuster, out of business. Netflix is now a huge part of our life. Phones, TV, we plan our lives around it. How many of you told people we were going to chill in Netflix this weekend? Be honest? Yeah. So my challenge to you is, as you look at yourself, as you look at your organizations, you've got to be prepared to change before you have to. Change before you have to. My first business mentor used to say, change or die. But that's a bit dark for a Tuesday morning. So we're going to stick with change before you have to. Stay ahead of the game if you want to be successful in the new year. Because things are moving very, very quickly. If you think about communication today compared to how it was in the past, if you think about the telephone, okay, back in the 1800s, the Mr. Watson, will you come here call, how long did it take? I use the number 50 million people to use the telephone. 75 years, exactly. Huge bonus points for you too. That extra car, the cash. I'm sure this time it's real. Okay, 75 years. How long did it take to get the radio for 50 million people to use it? 38 years. Okay, then we think about the TV, which for those of you who Netflixed and chilled this weekend, how long to get 50 million users of the TV? 13 years. How about the internet? I know I'm dating myself, but I totally remember the internet coming out. And my dad asking me, hey, Lynne. Actually, he calls me something else, but I'm not going to share that with you people because I don't want to hear it ever again. Okay? What do you think about this internet thing? Do you think we should do a website? Do you think this is going to stick around? How long to get 50 million users for the internet? 4 years. How about when Zuckerberg sits down in his dorm room and decides to create Facebook? How long before 50 million users? 2. Now, how about Pokemon Go? Anybody here play Pokemon Go? Yeah. How long did it take? 19 days to get 50 million users. So if things are moving quickly, you need to make sure you're staying in front of it as much as you can. In the end, as you plan for the new year, create your competitive advantage. Think about how you can do things better or do them differently. I would be honored to help you with that at your 2020 event. And keep in mind, like the infamous philosopher and poet Michael Jordan says, some people want it to happen, some people wish it will happen, and there's others that make it happen. Let's make it happen. I'm Lynne Jensen-Nelson.